I signed a letter with 120 other generals and admirals saying that Trump won the election, and damn it, I stand by my election. Fix the unconstitutionality of voting machines. Fix IDs. Fix college students who don't live here from voting. Fix balloting. It's out of control.
Untrue. It does not matter what he signed. Trump did not win the last election. But New Hampshire Republican voters have chosen Trump loyalist and election denier right there, Don Bolduc, as their candidate to face off against Democratic Senator Maggie Hassan in November. New Hampshire is just one of at least 27 states that are going to have election deniers on the ballot this fall, many of them running for offices that oversee or certify elections. Let's get scared and bring in Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, our friend Jonathan Capehart, associate editor at The Washington Post, and of course, anchor of The Sunday Show right here on MSNBC. And Stuart Stevens joins us, a veteran of the Mitt Romney and George W. Bush presidential campaigns. He is now with the Lincoln Project. Guys, let's get scared. What is at stake with election deniers on the ballot in key states, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan? Jonathan, I turn to you first, right? The whole thought was, let's get these far-right crazies on the ballot. They'll be easy to beat. Is that a good idea?
You know, we will find out for sure, Stephanie, in November. But I've been concerned that things have been so volatile in American politics for quite a while now, that this is a gamble that I hope Democrats win, because if some of these election deniers get elected to some of these key places, Democrats will rue the day that they gambled with democracy this way. The key state I'm thinking of and have been thinking of this whole time is Pennsylvania, with Doug Mastriano as the Republican nominee for governor. Now, why am I talking about a governor's race and why Pennsylvania? Because the Pennsylvania governor, whether a Democrat or Republican, gets to appoint the Secretary of State. And as we all know now, as a result of the 2020 election, the Secretary of State is the person who runs elections in those states. And so come 2024, if Governor Mastriano is the governor of Pennsylvania, then he will have a say in who runs those elections. And so the hell and trauma that we went through with the 2020 presidential election will only be repeated and be on steroids in 2024. That's why having these election deniers up and down the ballot across the country is so concerning.
Stuart, how worried are you about this?
I'm incredibly worried. Look, I just to make a point that I don't think gets made enough about this idea that there was something wrong with the election. There's not one Secretary of State in any state in America, Republican or Democrat, who has said that the election in their state was not conducted properly. Not one. And there's a lot of Republicans out there. So ultimately, this all goes back to race. Because when you look at the states and the areas that they have said where there were illegal votes, they were all predominantly non-white areas, many of them African Americans. Atlanta, Detroit, Philadelphia. This is not so much just about these candidates running, but we have to go back to the fact there's not one Republican incumbent senator on the ballot or Republican nominee for the Senate who has not said that they will, who has said that they will not support Donald Trump if he's the Republican nominee. So that's where we're headed. So when you vote for each of these Republicans, you're voting to support Donald Trump and increase the chances that Donald Trump will be the next president. It's a complete collapse of the party. There's no moral structure to the party. There's no one there except for a couple of people like Liz Cheney, who, they drummed a Cheney out of the party. And I think we have to consider it the greatest threat to democracy since 1860.
Well, Stuart, you can only understand where we're headed if you can explain how we got here. How did we get here in terms of the GOP?
Listen, Stephanie, there's a lot of people that were wrong about Donald Trump in 2016, but it's really hard to find anybody who was more wrong than me. I didn't think he'd win the primary. I didn't think he'd win the general. And when he did, I had to ask myself a lot of tough questions. How is it that I didn't see this? And there's sort of a trope of books that people write about Washington. If only they had listened to me. I couldn't write that book because they did listen to me. I helped elect a lot of these people. And I never in a million years saw this coming. And I think that the conclusion I came to was that there really had been two strains in the Republican Party in post-World War II. An Eisenhower strain, which was a boring, conservative, governing strain, and then a McCarthy strain, conspiratorial, non-governing, xenophobic, often racist. And I think a lot of us who worked particularly for George W. Bush and this idea of compassionate conservatism, we assumed that we were the dominant gene. That if for no other reason than political necessity, because the country was changing so much, that we saw this dark side, and we probably played to that dark side too much. I have said, I was a guy that tried to help elect people. I was good at it. I thought a lot more about winning elections than saving the country. And I regret that deeply. And I don't know what to do about it now, except to sound this alarm and to try to go out, so we're doing the Lincoln Project, and use the skills we have to try to make it clear what the choice is here. And, it's the inability to imagine democracy's ending that is always a key element when democracies slide into autocracy. And these people think they're going to win. We look at someone, like Mastriano, we think they're crazy, think they're nuts. This is not a group of people who lack confidence. They have financiers like Peter Thiel. They have a vast propaganda network with Fox and the right-wing media stream. They're evolving a legal structure to justify what they want to do. I mean, think about it. If you pass a law that the Georgia legislature can overturn the popular vote, when the Georgia legislature overturns the popular vote, it won't be illegal. And that's how democracies end. It's not, they end at the ballot box now and in the courtroom.
Jonathan, I feel like Stuart just sat down and presented a full holy confession to us, so I'm afraid we've eaten a whole lot of time up. But before we go, I have to ask about Georgia, because this is a state where 41% of likely voters are saying inflation is their top issue, more than abortion, more than election laws, more than gun violence, all those things combined, less than inflation. Given that, how do Raphael Warnock and Stacey Abrams play that? We can say all day long that Herschel Walker's nuts, but inflation falls on the incumbent.
Right, and I do think that they are, at a minimum, they are able to talk about things that, certainly Senator Warnock can talk about things that Democrats have done in Washington, that he has done in Washington, that he has brought to Georgia as a result of being in the Senate, and can make an affirmative case as to why he should be returned to the Senate. There's a new poll out that has, if I'm remembering right, Senator Warnock now slightly above Herschel Walker in the latest poll. But as that poll number that you showed there, with inflation being the number one concern at 41% of people polled, is sort of the warning shot to Georgia Democrats, but also to Democrats writ large, that as much as there is this energy and passion behind the issue of abortion, and Republicans not being able to help themselves by continuing to put the issue out there for people to continue to be passionate about Senator Lindsey Graham, they still, Georgians, Stacey Abrams and Senator Warnock are going to have to be able to talk to Georgians about what are they going to do, how are they going to be a part of the solution. And one more thing, back to Stuart Stevens, the name of his book is It Was All a Lie. I urge everyone to read it, because he hurls himself on the sword and talks about what he did to get us to this point, but he also offers a solution. And so I am very proud to share the screen with Stuart Stevens.
Me too. Stuart, thank you. Jonathan, thank you. And also a reminder, while Republicans are going after Democrats on inflation, they have yet to offer their plan to combat it. When we come back, a total ban on abortion falls in South Carolina after disagreements between Republicans. Our next guest was there for the action. He tells us what is going on in